Just because you lost the finals, sure, it might leave a scar, doesn't mean you can't climb again.
I can shape myself and I don't need nobody else, no one else, no. And I'm going on my own and I don't need you to feel at home, no. Never felt so alive.
We're here to stay and we're gonna dominate.
To survive, to survive.
In Europe, we've got nothing else to prove. We are just gonna keep winning.
I think no one of us ever tasted the victory of winning a LEC final. But the hunger is what's driving us.
I know that we can be a really good team, and I would really like to go to Worlds.
The goal here is to beat G2 and to get the trophy back.
We're counted as one of the top teams. Our goal for this split is going to Worlds. To do that, we obviously need to reach the top.
It's great to be back again, and I'm excited to play against real competition again and still show that I'm one of the best AD carries in the league.
And I don't need you to feel at home, no. Never felt so alive while you're trying so hard to survive, You're always feeling blue.
We are a very underestimated team. I think with the changes that we made, we're gonna be very dangerous.
The rookies have risen up.
G2 are inevitable. G2 are inescapable. 7 titles for G2. Flashing in, Razzle. Look at where the power could be.
Come out. $1.5 million twin fangs thrown up. That manages to stun 2. The knockup from Wonder is fantastic. G2 have turned this game around.
Ripper cannot survive. With that true shot barrage, Yanko's going to jump into the pit. He goes on somebody steals this. The dive's going to dunk the Soraka back down. Whoa, combo!
He's on the cards, and Reckless sends him packing with a quadra.
To the LEC studio. It is the final day of our Super Week, and for the teams, this is a chance to get a flying start on their road to Worlds. You're getting an inside look at the Mad Lions training complex as they prepare to take on the undefeated SK Gaming. I'd like that. I'd like a little massage before getting into things.
Yeah, where's the Riot Games training complex? When do we get a neck massage before we start casting?
May get to it.
No, great. Social distancing.
Stay away, sir.
Leave room for Jesus, as they say.
Yeah, blame Didi. All right, but as you can see, I'm with these two knuckleheads, Froskurinn and Drakos, also known as the deadly duo from Euphoria. So yeah, I'm excited for you guys to bring the fire, to be honest.
Why didn't we think of that deadly duo? That
Deadly
was so
duo's
much.
good.
We've been trying. It sounds like
Frosted Drakes. Shout out to the stats team. Frosted Drakes. If we ever had our own cereal line, we had to settle for LECs, but I really Frosted Drakes.
Frosted Drakes.
Frosted Drakes.
Okay. Okay.
Hey, here at the LEC, it's not about the casters, it's about the teams. And in our match of the week yesterday, Origin silenced the critics with an impressive win against the reigning champions G2. What happened and where is the OG we saw on day one against SK?
Look, that OG is dead, thank God. Day 2 OG was a thing that I have never seen before in the entire history of this lineup, and that was fast, aggressive, individual playmakers stepping up. It was everything that we have asked OG to show us and more, and at this point we've seen OG put their foot on the gas pedal, and now we just never, ever want them to stop.
It's about turning the page from coulda, woulda, shoulda to actual contenders, and this is kind of living up to that hype of everything that we thought that OG could be. That said, G2, I don't think you can count them out just yet. Like, yeah, you expect them to drop a game, but game number 1, Perks showed up on Varus, and this game in particular, I think it was a bit of some drafting issues. Wukong, Lee Sin, not really helpful, and I think it's an easy pickup for G2 here.
And I think the thing that makes G2 so scary is we saw even in that Origin game, if it wasn't for Origin consistently pressuring and forcing and continuously finding these solid plays, G2 was looking for ways back in the game. And it's the only time where you look at the kill score and it's not indicative of who actually is going to win. And that's the terrifying thing about G2.
I can hear it. Why are they talking about how well G2 played when OG
just
lost?
They're still scared. just still respect them.
What I want from OG is, that's potential that is always there. And we have actually, in fact, also seen last year and last split. But to me, it's not enough to see it once because it's so exciting to watch when you see all these players at their best form. Alfari, who was player of the game once again. I want to see that every game from Origin because it's just so damn cool to watch.
Doing it when it counts.
Yeah. Exactly.
I would like it to count every game, just for the record.
Yeah. Very great stuff from Origin. Now there's a bunch of undefeated teams, 3 in fact, SK Gaming, Fnatic, and Rogue. And yeah, Fnatic, not too unexpected. SK, very unexpected.
So yeah, SK are the biggest thing here. I will give a shout out to Fnatic though, that normally they don't start this hot. Normally Fnatic fans are like, hey, it's the beginning season of Fnatic. I guess we're gonna drop some games. 2-0, maybe an 18-0 on the horizon here. But SK are really the story for me.
Absolutely have to be, because this is a team that was not on our radar even remotely. This is a team where we couldn't really have opinions because they didn't really show us anything in spring. Yes, they got 4 wins, but it was never coordinated, it was never together, it never felt clean, it more felt like other teams making mistakes, and now we have a completely reborn SK who's got their stuff together, who's playing incredibly well, and take the nameplates off, this is not the team that we saw in spring, even remotely.
Yeah, it's the fact that they're able to survive lane phase, and of course, huge shout out to the last team there. Last but not least, Rogue. Undefeated. It feels like they fly under the radar all the time. Do want to give them a huge shout out. They're looking clean.
They are, and that's what makes it so interesting now, the conversation, because at the beginning of the split, you always think, well, is it just your G2s and your Fnatics and then your Origins creeping in? Now, all of a sudden, the conversation is completely different.
I think the only region that says that are the regions that are afraid of us. Like, it's just G2. No, it's a lot more than just G2. We have at least 2 world-class teams. All 3 of our seeds made it out of groups, and guess what? We have 4 tickets to Worlds, and we have 4 teams who are fighting for it.
Frosk, hello, you are fired up.
I mean, just the sheer amount of teams that are defying expectations 1 week in. And yes, it's 1 week. It's not the end of the world. It's a small sample size, but I think I've spent years of Hans Sama's career not watching him flash forward, and now if he's not burning it on cooldown to kill people in lane, I'm surprised. And that's a massive change in a single
defense,
split.
there is hope.
There is hope. Someone can use flash.
Yeah, it's possible. So here are the standings. Indeed, not exactly what we would have predicted before coming in.
Bodied the man.
Just a moment of silence for Double if we can.
Anyway, SK Gaming on top, then Rogue. And for me, it's not completely out of left field that Rogue is on top. They have always had promise, and they've shown that. Fnatic, then G2 dropping the ball just once. But as said, there is so much that is up in the air, and there is still 1 game to be played. It is a super week, but SK, their reworked lineup is undefeated so far. And yesterday, Genax did share some thoughts on their massive improvements.
Tell me about this new SK lineup and the changes you operated between spring and summer. Why did you choose this player? Tell me about it.
I mean, I think with like Zaza, we have a really controlled player and we can play through him. And with that, we can play better for Kwani or for me, like depending on what we get in draft, right? And I think it just fits us way more, the way we play now, than we used to before. Like also in the last 2 weeks of the spring split, we tried to play the way we do now, and now it works even better for us.
Yeah, great stuff from SK. We'll talk a bit more about them later as they are the first game of the day. But a lot of teams made changes before the split, and we are going to do a heat check on those new lineups. Where do you stand at home? Is it ice or fire? Basically, are you okay with it? Do you think it's a good change? Is fire. And if you don't agree, if you think it's trash, then you're ice. Ice or fire, and these two are going to argument either or the other side. First one is, let's start with SK and their 500 IQ lane swap with Genax in the top lane. And for me, Frosk can defend why it's bad, and Drakos can defend while it's good, so fire.
Okay.
Frost is fire.
We gotta keep our social distance.
Yes. You can spam in chat with fire and ice.
Okay, nice. Not awkward at all.
Let's go first.
Oh, why do I go first? Okay, so...
You gotta just take him down.
Take him down.
The thing is, yes, it's great that SK have come out of the gate flying 2-0, but it is the first week of 2 days. This is a tiny sample size, and the teams that they are against, other than Origin...
yes, one of the two, Frost.
I'm actually going to say Origin with that composition wasn't that impressive. I think SK are kind of hiding some of their weaknesses. They're playing more scaling-oriented team comp, but these are kind of easy mode. They outdrafted.
All right. I mean, look, we could talk about the...
It's 2-0. What do you want?
Here's the thing. As you said, they're 2-0. They've taken down Origin, who, by the way, just took down G2 in case anyone wants to miss that. Transient property. Not the transient property. That's for all the players we benched last season. This one, though, is going to be a different story. This is a team that did not execute on anything, that lost in every single lane last split. And what are they doing now? They're winning. They have clear, planned strategies, and they're executing them incredibly well. And just for anyone in Twitch chat right now, all I got to say is Crowny. Put up, that is fire right there for my boy Crowny.
But they also have Trick, and while Trick's performing well right now, the meta shifted into him. We saw what happened to Trick when the meta shifted away from him. He was invisible all last split. Trick,
I'm sorry, are we 3 months from now, or are we right now, where the meta is in Trick's favor?
Well, the world is going to be in a couple months.
So, this is great, but I don't want to rule in anyone's favor. I thought we were getting the actual votes from home. I guess they'll update in just a second. We want to know what the people at home think, if they agree with Drakos and Fire or with Frost and Ice.
I just think you're on the wrong side of the coin this one.
Yeah, it's unlucky.
I was wondering which one of us was going to have to fight SK. It's hard right now, Frost. I'm not going to lie to you. They look good. And the thing is yeah. Like, the way that you argue against, right, is like, oh, but if we look at Worlds and what they're going to need for Worlds, they can't do it. But it's like...
The people at home are leaning towards Fire. Just want to... Are we getting the bar? Am I waiting for nothing? You're stalling.
Did we get the visual? No.
No, okay, but they're leaning towards Fire. Trust me.
Okay, well, I was going to say, real talk. I will also lean towards Fire, and I'm supposed to defend the ice right now.
You still have to stay over there, though, social distancing.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't like I want debate.
All right, we didn't get the bar in this one. Maybe after the show we'll go to the bar. But next up, Misfits. Misfits is a new topic of conversation, and their new bot lane. Do we feel hot or do we feel cold? I'm going to make you swap.
I feel like I'm getting the harder
I feel like
one.
this is...
Really? well, you are the analyst,
Some of us
and he's
have
the
spent a little
play-by-play.
bit more time on the analyst desk, Froskurinn, and you got to softball me in.
All right. Misfits bot lane. Frosk, why are we excited?
Okay, Misfits almost beat Fnatic. Outside of a massive miracle steal from Reckless, they were on a par to beat that game. And yeah, they lost really hard yesterday, but that was not Kabe's fault. And I think that other than DOS and Shadow just absolutely running it down, not Shadow, Razork, our other rookie jungler, Razork running it down, Misfits look really hot. I think it's small sample size, there's still a lot of faith in there. Febivin, we were just talking about how he was going to be second best mid laner in the league right now, and some of you guys are like, trash, ice, Drakos.
Yeah,
all right.
Drakos.
Here's the thing, is that the only win Kabe's seen so far is watching Doublelift lose in that TL-TSM matchup, and that's a little bit sad because they should have won that Fnatic game. But it's important to note, Hylissang was giving us a similar performance to DOS in that game they play. Fnatic threw away a ton of leads, and it did come down to a major steal, but Misfits never should have let it get into that position. Now, it is week 1, so we'll give Misfits a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, but there's nothing we've seen so far that 100% convinces me that they're going to rise up and show us something more. Like, look, Razor K, he fumbled week 1 of last split. I expect him to keep fumbling. I don't expect him to turn it around. DOS, we don't know what this guy is doing. You're not playing on stage, right? In theory, there's much less pressure. So
if you're just tuning in, this is a bit, right? We're just exploring both sides of the coin.
I'm playing purely devil's advocate. I actually have a lot of faith in Misfits to turn this around. It's hard, because I don't want to just burn them down, because they are young players, but also that was an abysmal game.
It's hard to argue that side.
I'd like to get an update of what the crowd at home decided. If production could give that to me so we at least know.
Fire or ice? How are we doing?
60-30 for what? For Fire. So,
yeah.
Yes. I mean, this wasn't the hardest one. They're positive at home. But yeah, Kabe and Misfits, a big story. And earlier this week, Kabe joined Frosk and Drakos on Euphoria. So let's take a quick look back.
Kaveh, looking at the team, kind of, once again, it's good to have you back, but looking at Misfits achievements last year, obviously everything started or last split rather, everything started super well. It felt like things were going pretty solid, but definitely the second half it started to fall off a cliff, and while you got to playoffs in the end, things looked okay. How do you come in and like shape this roster up? Like, what changes now that you're a part of this Misfits lineup?
So I heard that, I mean, obviously they played with B-Boy, who didn't really speak that well English, and that's like a big difference as well already, that I can at least bring a lot of communication and they know what I want to do in the game. And then, I mean, it's still a work in progress, right? There's a lot of things we need to fix and like work on so far, even if they already played for one split. But I think I can bring a lot more stability. Like I think in spring they had a lot of, I mean, I haven't watched every game, right? But a lot of flippy games, I guess. Either they would win really hard or lose really hard. And I think I can just provide a lot of experience. I will always do well, almost always. And yeah, the communication part as well.
I know, you guys are tired of hearing about it, but it is good to have Kaveh back. But he better be ready, because it's a stacked competition that lies ahead of him. For as long as I can remember, mid lane was the rally call of Europe. But I'm tired of pretending that there's more than 3 mid laners worth talking about, especially when 2 of them are on G2. Europe, we're the region of ADCs now. This guy is no stranger, a prodigy on arrival, mainstay at Worlds, and what's crazy to me is that Rekkles isn't past his prime, he's actually in it. The man pulled out Syndra yesterday just to prove that he could. There are no champion pool issues, no resource demands. Rekkles is the most versatile ADC, but is he the best? EU mids, man, so good they play in bot. Perkz reminded everyone the lane starts at level 1, not on your 3rd item. Without him, Europe doesn't get to be part of the conversation. He's the reason we all pretend we somehow contributed to MSI. He's the reason we all get to trash talk. So yeah, think twice before you send that caps lock tweet, Fnatic fans. Because he did all this in his first year, and then he swapped back to mid just for the cheeky back-to-back title grab in 2 different positions. Has anyone else in the world ever done that? You don't have to like Perkz, but you do have to respect him. And speaking of respect, I'm tired of the disrespect upset. The man's only crime is not being the best, and that doesn't make him bad or a choker. Statistically speaking, he's a no-brainer for your LEC fantasy draft, and that's just a hot tip. And put this guy on G2 and Fnatic, and it's not like they win less. Titles are a team effort, and without him, Origin's team effort doesn't get shortlisted to Worlds. And our match of the week, he showed Europe why he's on that shortlist. And yeah, he's also got to show up in the big games, but anytime G2 goes down, it is something special. The bot lane is saturated with talent, and we need to remember we're lucky that we have more than Doublelift to just talk about, which is why when we loaned them NA Sven and Kaveh, sorry, we loaned NA Sven and Kaveh, but that region is on fire right now and we can't continue to boost them. So yes, welcome back, Kaveh. You're just in time to keep Perkz and Rekkles on their toes, but the LEC gets 4 tickets to Worlds, and it could be you looking down the barrel of that replacement for the final spot. And yeah, yesterday, that spanking wasn't Kaveh's fault, but he needs to remind everyone that he's not just Mr. Consistent and not just Mr. Consistently 4th place, and continue to be the difference maker with the likes of Carzzy and Hansama not even pictured. Hell, even the recently Unchained Comp and Crownshot are having their pop-up moments. So I am here to preach the truth. Europe is no longer about the mid lane. We are about the ADCs, and I am stoked about it.
Oh, you just put such a big smile on my face. I love that. Changing the conversation because we have so many strong marksmen, and just showing how it is an intersection between the old guard, which is only Rekkles remaining, the newer guard, and the completely new guard with the rookies. They're all here. They're all fighting for those spots.
Look at that anime lineup.
Wow.
It's actually crazy. It does really look like it. This could be the next season of Dragon Ball Z for like all we know. It's incredible how much talent has come through this role, because for a long time it did just feel like Sven and Rekkles. Right? And mostly just Sven. And like Hansama kind of showed up and Kaveh kind of showed up, but it never felt like it was close. But now we're in a world where, yes, Rekkles and Perkz are still probably at the top, but each and every single one of these players is fighting, and that is incredibly wild. There's almost always some crap player at the bottom that we have to talk about, but that's not the case anymore. Every single one of these players has proven that when it's time to show up, that they can do it.
And it's just in time, because it feels like the meta is really rewarding you when you do have a strong bot lane. You must have a strong jungler, you must have a strong bot lane, and that's partly why these Ezreal still Yumis are popping off so hard.
So let's talk about a bit of the guys that you didn't mention necessarily over there, and who outside of that top 4 are we thinking about for the conversation of possibly best bot laners in the LEC?
I mean, I think Crownshot has come out swinging, right? This is the guy that looked solid on SK, but because of SK's false start, we never really got to see a lot from. Additionally, the man on your screen right now, Hansama, though how aggressive he has been playing.
Yeah.
Because this was the Hansama you saw when he played Draven and nothing else.
Yeah.
Everything else, he was sitting back. It was a very early Kabi-esque, like, let's just be the reliable force. But the flash over the wall, chasing in for what is essentially solo kill, that is a new look for Hansama, and it puts him on the map very quickly.
I don't know. I am already ready for like the incoming narrative of like Misfits. Last team between Mad Lions. Kabe's looking down at Carzzy thinking, if I had just stayed in Europe, that could have been me. I should have been there. And Carzzy's like, I made top 3 AD carries in my first split, and now I get to go to Worlds potentially.
Oh, there's too many to mention. We talk about bot laners. What's up with the support pool? Are we hype about the support pool in Europe?
Okay, so the elephant in the room, and you don't have to just take Drakos and I's word for it. Carzzy destroyed every support when we had him on Euphoria. We don't have the greatest supports in the regions. I think we have 3. It's like Hilly, Mickey, and then Kaiser.
Yeah, I think.
Then a Gap, and then kind of everyone else.
Yeah, and I think that's the really difficult part, because what we heard is, are there great AD carries? Yes. Are there great bot lanes? And every player kind of goes, and that's because the support pool is so muddy right now. Kaiser, the obvious standout after some incredible playmaking performances. He's proved he can play range supports, limit the other guys that I have my eyes on. But after that, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel. There's such a high turnover on support players. All these players are incredibly young, and none of them have really impressed yet.
I would say, is that the case worldwide? But the LPL is absolutely stacked in terms of supports. But what could work into that? Could it be, well, they've had a lot to deal with, a lot has changed around them. All of a sudden, their bot laners are playing Syndra. Like, what do you expect from the guys?
I think there's a big problem in that for so long, the smart player was who you could have as support. If smarts were good enough, Mithy would still be the #1 support in our region, right? But the problem is you have to be incredibly good mechanically as well now. You have to be able to keep up with the constant change in meta. Look, we all know why he stepped down. Let's not pretend, Frost. Keep it together. Hold it in. Sorry, Mithy. But like, it's not enough anymore. Not only do you have to be incredibly intelligent about the game, you have to be incredibly mechanically gifted. And with all of the supports that are coming out, the Rakans, the Pikes, there's a huge diversity in the skill set that you have that I think is unprecedented in the role.
That's so incredibly diverse. Yumi, you know, speaking of the bot lane, so far this split, we have seen healing supports wreaking havoc on the Rift. A lot of Yumi, not that interactive, or is it? A lot of Lulu.
Okay, she's really strong right now, and it's really good because we just talked about how a lot of our support players are having some hands issues, and you don't need hands to play Yumi. You just kind of set her onto the keyboard, you smash your face onto it, and it's totally fine. One of the bigger issues that I have, though, is that there's not a lot of good itemization to deal with some of the healing that you're getting out of Yumi. Yeah, there's Executioner's Calling. You can go for the Morello. I think I just triggered chat as I said that word. But it's not enough. You know what I mean? Like, even if you have those items, and if you are playing Ezreal, it's also really difficult to itemize into those things. You just can't deal with it. And once Yumi's on the Rift, her team virtually takes no damage. Everyone walks out of a team fight full health.
And it falls into this very same bucket that issues with Skarner and Malzahar do, where when you're ahead and you can afford the QSS, like, who cares? But if you're even or you start to fall behind, that gold investment into Morello's or into Executioner's Calling puts you even further behind and doesn't mitigate it entirely, just diminishes it a little bit. She's still healing them to full every time.
Give me some answers. What are we going to do if that Yumi keeps getting played?
Okay, I've got the dark technology. I've been peeking in on the LPL, and I want it. If you follow me on Twitter, you've already seen it. I want the Kai'Sa. The thing about Ezreal is that you usually have to play dive into him, or at least the LPL is playing dive into him, and that when he sets up, when he opens up his ultimate, he stands still, he pulls it back, Kai'Sa presses R at the same time, she just got buffed, she's able to duel him and kill him. That said, Ezreal is of course much more versatile in more compositions than Kai'Sa is, but I want a team to commit to it.
And you want to talk about the bot lane, I want to talk about Soraka, because anyone who wants to play our support, you're wrong, you're a bad person. But my AD carry Soraka's out there, my bot lane Soraka's out there. For a man like Reckless who's spamming, who's having it banned away, it's such a good option. You can match the healing, and additionally, Soraka's silence is one of the most powerful abilities in the game. So if Ezreal ever gets too close, oh, goodbye, my friend. Locked down, taken out of a fight instantly.
And then if the supports actually do need to pick up some weight and pull their own, we've already seen Nautilus as one of the answers into Ezreal because he can press R on him. Hopefully you're able to track him down. Or just grab the Leona. Yeah, that Ezreal will shift his way out of the team fight, but Leona can continue to have pressure with that long-range engage.
And also, you can just flash Q, and it's not that hard, even if you don't have hands, right? It's like, it's okay.
We don't want to put the supports too much on blast. We don't just want to say we can all replace them. Come on.
Yeah, well, we'll be on the lookout for some new picks today as we close out our first Super Week. It's flown by. It's so easy. SK Gaming is going to look to defend their undefeated record against Mad Lions. Really cool. And there's some really interesting matchups throughout the day. Misfits versus Origin, to just name one.
I'm actually really stoked about SK versus Mad Lions, which, to steal your line, Drakos, I never thought I would ever say that. But that came out of my mouth, and I meant it with sincerity.
Yeah, additionally, I mean, outside of Game 1 and Game 3, I think we're looking at a lot of one-sided matchups today, which, of course, from what we've seen so far, a lot of our expectations don't tend to work out. So maybe we can give the benefit of the doubt to Excel to come back, to Vitality to show us more. But for right now, Origin versus Misfits, SK versus Mad Lions, huge stakes and can absolutely go either way.
Indeed, will be interesting to watch. And SK Gaming, they are currently undefeated. And for more on their transformation, Laura is joined by their new head coach.
Thank you very much, Sjokz, and thank you, Jesiz, for joining me ahead of your third game this week, because I had a chance to talk to your players, the new players, and the role swap one, but I didn't hear about the coaching stuff yet. So tell me about this new role within the SK lineup, and why did you decide to join SK?
I mean, for me, I felt it was a great opportunity. I had just, worked with LDLC at EU Masters, and so I was hungry to do more than just win EU Masters, right? And come back to the big stage. And I saw a lot of potential in the new roster at SK. So, and I felt like I could do a lot, right? And that's the most important for me always, that I feel like I can have a high impact. So that's the main reason I joined SK.
And actually, thanks for bringing us the victory at EU Masters, and congrats for you and LDLC. But let's move on another topic here. The SK lineup. Everything is clicking so far, as you said. But I see that you guys took a risk, in a way, bringing a brand new rookie player plus the role swap. So talk me through the process of changing this lineup and why you thought it was the good decision to make.
I mean, mid lane is obviously the best, right? Mid lane in any role, obviously just the best. So the moment that I saw it was Jesiz, I feel like if it was like a jungler or something going top lane, then, or like a AD carry going top lane or something, then I wouldn't be as hyped, right? But since Jesiz champion pool was very top lane-ish, and he was a mid laner, right? I felt like it was just going to be no problem. And in general, I feel like top laners are like not that good. I mean, I think there's like a lot of room to improve, at least on top laners. So I felt it was just going to be a very natural process for him, right? And I could help him a lot as well.
Yeah, I was wondering about that, because playing mid lane and playing top lane, I mean, these are two solo lanes, but that you play very differently. So how can you help him in this new role?
I mean, I've played mid lane before, and then I've played bot lane. And bot lane is actually very similar to top lane in a way, especially ranged matchups. And then in general, I just have a good idea of like what a 4-man needs from a top laner, for example. And I understand how a top laner should play both team fights and also side lane in mid game. I understand how a top laner should move, and I understand what a 4-man needs to do to make his top laner move. And in general, I feel like I can help him a lot in the areas that he doesn't have as much experience with.
Yeah, I always value pro player experiences when they become coaches in that area, and I mean, you guys have been very successful so far, so it thinks that it's working. Quick question: you will be facing Mad Lions in a few minutes, so what advice will you tell the guys before going in the game today? I was about to say on stage, but no.
I mean, I'm just going to say what I always say, and that's just to focus on our fundamentals, right? And focus on us and just play our game, because I feel that, at least in our current shape, I've been with the team for 3-ish weeks now, we've scrimped. And I mean, they've just improved so much, and I feel like we're at a level where if we just play really like our way or as good as we normally do, then we can beat pretty much every team. So I make sure that they just feel like there's no pressure and it's the same game every single game. And yeah, I mean, obviously Mad Lions are one of the tougher ones, right? Them and G2, I think, are probably the scariest ones. But I think, I mean, Mad Lions I think they had one good showing yesterday, but I don't think that it was necessarily them playing super good. So I think they're very, very beatable, and I think today we have a very good chance of beating them as well.
And I wish you the best of luck on that. Thank you very much, Jesiz, for the interview, and good luck against the Mad Lions today.
Thank you very much.
And back to congratulate him.
She almost congratulated him,
Yes,
which I respect.
congratulations.
The SK have looked really good. They have surprises
Or is
at
it the
every turn.
Jesiz redemption arc that is being congratulated for? What's going on?
It's hard. I mean,
It's hard to say.
EU Masters, LEC, Worlds. What's next for young Jesse?
What is
Lee?
next, actually? I really like that insights that he gave. Obviously, he's a very experienced player as well with these rosters, and it looks like it's working out for SK swimmingly. They are up versus the Mad Lions, and the Mad Lions are the team that we were so excited about last split, right? They did so well. They were a breakout rookie team, and with those, it's always a question, well, how much more have we not seen yet, and where does the buck stop? What do you think for Mad Lions?
I mean, for me, it's difficult to know at this point. I think what we've seen so far is pretty solid execution overall. Mostly it looks like we're seeing the same flavor that we saw in the previous split. I think the big concern comes through for me when we start to talk about jungle and kind of what Shadow is doing as we approach a very new meta.
Yeah, it's the fact that Shadow's kind of run Lee Sin both of his games. Like, that champion didn't work for Jankos, and not that Shadow can't perform on the champion, but he's just not as viable as a pick as kind of the set jungles, the Trundles running around the Olaf. So I would like to see Mad Lions kind of reach out of Shadow's champion pool. I know he can perform on those champs. Like, I watched him play carry Kai'Sa in the MSS. So, like, pull out something new, give me a fresh look. I need to see the next page of their playstyle before I'm ready to send them off to Worlds with confidence.
And interestingly, in the first time in what feels like years, Trick's playstyle is in meta. And that's not to say that Trick's playstyle is bad, just that it's been very limited over the last few years. But this very farm-heavy, jungler-focused playstyle is coming back, especially with things like Nidalee Graves, the Trundle. Pretty much the team can be about in the early game, playing to make sure that Trick has a jungle phase. Trick's got his time where he takes his jungle camps. Whatever's left over is time for his team.
I'm so happy. He was never bad. He wasn't bad. It just wasn't his meta. And then you can make an argument of maybe like, okay, Trick's bad at adaptation, so maybe that makes him a weaker jungle.
Yes.
But Trick is showing everyone that he didn't just disappear. This is just the style that he likes to play. As the games go longer, he is truly a team fight jungler. I know that sounds really ironic to say, but Trick excels there. His macro movements. Watch what he does with the map, what he does with information. When the games are played slow, Trick looks great.
And this is harkening back to 2017 G2 in spring. It was a very similar jungle meta, and Trick was considered very high impactful. And you have to remember, in that era, Trick was the king, and it was Jankos who was falling behind. So, well, I'm obviously not saying that that's what we're going to see here today. I'm just saying that remember that Trick in his prime was incredibly dominant, and that if this meta continues, we can't expect him to hit his ceiling
We'll
yet.
see. We'll be looking at that jungle matchup, and this game is the biggest surprise of spring versus the biggest surprise so far in summer, as SK look to go undefeated in week 1.